like Roger Goodell's, not being able to pronounce the names correct. But looking at, I mean, that kind of made me curious. I was like, oh, let's look at the Raiders. They got 3 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
The first one, the Henry Ruggs, and then they go Bowden, and then they go Brian Edwards out of South Carolina. Does that mean they want to throw the ball, Paul? I mean, that's kind of what they're telling me right now.
I'll say this: they're going to make Derek Carr use his arm. I think this season, and they're just going to. They have to add the weapons, Chris. I mean, it's an arms race. It's literally an arms race because they have the Super Bowl winner in their division, and so having to keep up with Denver, with Colton Sutton, and then adding them, the Denver Broncos adding Jerry Jeudy, and then of course the Kansas City Chiefs just continue adding more pieces. I think in the first round they ended up with Edwards-Helaire from the LSU running back, and so I think with Ruggs, speed, and then these receivers are going to make sure that Derek Carr can move the sticks, I think, down the field. So, I guess everybody wants to do offense this year. They're just going to put defense on the back burner.
I mean, are we turning as NFL turning into the Big 12? I mean, it's like it's almost like let's just see how many points we can score and win these games 45-35. And
it's what.
Go ahead, Paul.
It's always what's popular, Chris, and then we kind of see that trickle down. And the SEC, we used to see 13-7 or 20-13, and then now we're seeing larger and larger scores on the scoreboard in the SEC, and of course we've had that in the Big 12 for 15 years. Mm-hmm. So here we go. I guess it's just finally trickling down to NFL because when you have guys like Mahomes who can throw the ball from any angle, Lamar Jackson who can move the ball down the field with his arms or legs, you're going to get the college game, the high school game to the college game to the NFL, and now we're living it.
Yeah. And I think, we mentioned it when we were having our live draft watch party there the other night. I think I mentioned, the fact that, the NFL being the copycat league and everybody sees, what Kansas City's been able to do with all the weapons that they have. So they're trying to do the same thing. I think the Raiders are trying to keep up with the Joneses. But I think, as far as the transition of the NFL into the Big 12 as far as points goes, I mean, it's been set up over the years. The rules changes that they've made, just some of the things that have done to protect the quarterback, to protect the wide receivers, to protect the offensive player, has set it up to, for this transition for the Geats games to be high scoring. And so that's, and so we see it in the draft. It's like, okay, well, if this is how this game is going to be played in the future or presently, and then in the future, we need to load up on wide receivers. We need to load up on skill guys, and we need to load up on offensive tackles to, take care of our quarterbacks. And we need to load up on quarterbacks because our quarterbacks might get hurt because they're going to be holding. I mean, obviously they get the ball every play, but we see Carson Wentz or we see the Eagles get Jalen Hurts to back up Carson Wentz. And, speaking of that, I want to, of course, make the transition to the Green Bay Packers. I think everybody was